Welcome back. This is another episode of Tesla to Mars. A lot has happened this week. Where to start? I think the obvious one, we can all agree.
First start, you're going to Austin next week, right? Or when?
Yeah, but like we discussed that already like a couple times. But yes, I am flying there.
But are you gonna meet up with Maye, Musk?
Kees, can you have your microphone a little bit closer? Yeah.
Maye, if you're watching, be in Austin. No, but
she's watching, huh?
She liked your post like many times, right? So there's something going on between you and the mother of Elon.
I wouldn't call it love yet, but who knows? Something's brewing.
Yeah, I heard after a certain age, women tend to like men that are passionate about regulation of themselves. Right?
Yeah, and yes, especially from Europe.
Yeah.
European regulation.
You have this young man from Europe that you know is so well composed that he cares about the regulations of everything going on with full self-driving cars. That must be the ideal,
ideal partner.
Partner, or maybe like you have a pied de terre if you go to a different country.
Toy boy.
Your words.
But Kees, the other way around. What's your interest in Maye? What's the?
I had no interest. You're putting words in my mouth right now.
It's a shame that Kees is off episode, a total different person than he is in the episodes, right? So
it's becoming like a shy.
I think
Sky is cool,
quiet.
But maybe that's part of his act to attract me.
Yeah, but the stuff I say off camera is off limits to everyone.
Off limits. Well, okay. Well. Let's continue then where we were.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for tuning in. A lot has happened this week. Before we go into the obvious, the feud between the Donald and Mr. Musk himself, kind of glad we didn't do this.
The made-up feud.
Yeah,
well, let's discuss.
Whoopi Goldberg. Like I saw this episode from The View. Well, not the whole episode
since when is she relevant?
Yeah,
who's Whoopi Goldberg?
No, okay.
In the Tesla scene.
No. I'm gonna explain this one.
Okay.
I watch Sky News Australia quite a lot, and I love this segment called "Lefties Losing It." It's freaking hilarious. You should watch it. And then they usually discuss something from The View, and The View is like despicable to watch. But the first time she said, I don't buy this feud, I think it's a distraction. And that's the first time in like 2 or 3 years that I'm watching this episode that I think, finally you're right, but for the wrong reasons though. But yeah, she's not important at all in the Tesla scene. But do you think it was made up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if everything what happened was made up, but for me it was completely unclear why they were hitting at each other like this. I think it has to do a lot with the big bill, the big beautiful bill, which of course I think Elon is more on the conservative side, and he just doesn't want to have this bill actually being passed. So he was trying to get some. Well, from the other side, it's obvious. From the Trump side, it's less obvious. But I think Trump actually also has some reasons to not pass the bill. But he's not very open. He cannot openly be on that side of the...
No, that's part of the position as well.
Yeah, so... But maybe it is something real going on. But then still, it's more noise and more it's not a biggie.
It's not a biggie. And what I saw today is this actually. President Donald Trump and Elon Musk. We had a great relationship and I wish him well, very well actually. Mr. Musk responded with a heart.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
So the bromance is getting back. hopefully, and the stock price is also going up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my realization was if this is becoming a war, like it first looked like, because in the beginning, like even when you want to get personal, to do it at this level, blaming Trump being on the Epstein list, etc., is something that burns all boats. And
how do you mean burns all boats?
Well, let's say you and I have something personal, and we share that online. But if I then come with a sort of worse allegation that I can make, and also some very personal allegation, that's I think questionable behavior. So I was not happy with this whole thing going on, because I think it's just a waste of energy of where the men can go together. But on the other hand, I always also realize that there's tremendous amounts of pressure and stress both on the inside and the outside of the both men. And Elon, if you listened closely, Trump is actually a very funny person to listen to, because he always sort of spills the beans. Elon can be a little bit more reserved in his speech, although Elon also doesn't say read between the lines, read the lines. That's always Elon's statement. But Trump said like listen, Elon was wearing thin, so he had just a couple of hours that he could spend here in the government, and his contract was terminated. But what I didn't like about what Trump was doing was like sort of disrespecting the whole position and the help that he had received from Elon, discounting that. But it felt like very, very unnecessary. So I'm very happy that this week everything calmed down a little bit, and there seemed to be on speaking terms again.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it looks like it was going to escalate. Like Trump says, "I'm going to pull your contracts." Elon said, "I'm going to pull your spaceship." And for me, that's like...
it was quite childish, to be honest.
Yeah.
And they deleted all those posts they made on X.
Yep.
So they're wiping this from the history books, but there are some newspapers who printed it.
Yeah, no, of course. But everybody has seen it. So, but the point is, I think I really like what the MAGA movement is about. So I very much in principles endorse the... Make America Great Again attitude, cutting a spend of government, making sure everybody becomes healthy again with Kennedy involved, and also reducing regulation so innovation can speed up again. We can get the Boring Company, CyberCabs, but I think the most sensitive point for Elon was the NASA appointment. And we have been following this for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And the whole reason of Elon stepping into politics, one is America potentially going bankrupt, and that's still an issue on the table. And people in the US tend to have that sort of kicking the can down the road mentality, say, okay, we now do this bill and we fix that problem later. And Elon is from a different mindset. He wants to solve the problems right away. So I think there's a bit of friction there. But then second, Elon's main objective is make humanity multiplanetary. And he saw the stagnation of SpaceX just by regulation. And we looked at the presentation of SpaceX the last week. And we're talking about 1,000 flights that needs to happen, or thousands of flights that need to happen in a very short period of time. And right now, in the world we live in right now, it's already very difficult to have like one flight scheduled a month. You need to have a lot of work done before you can get
so he really
to that.
wanted Jared to be appointed.
Yeah, and also in a couple of interviews 1 or 2 weeks ago was like, I'm going to talk about Elon about this whole Mars thing. And for Trump, this whole Mars obsession that Elon has is something he just don't grasp. So, it's great that we have space and we have this technology, but he always don't say mocked, but he always sort of discounts that mission of making life multiplanetary. For him, it's not something.
No, they disregard it as a show pony a little bit. Like, let him do his Mars thing.
Yeah, he's very passionate about Mars, but he simply doesn't get it that much. And also, I think one of the big differences between the two men is that Trump is all about popularity, and Trump is basically a sort of showman that cares a lot about the future of the United States. And Elon is an engineer that wants to have real solutions for things and can also reason from sort of ground up. If you listen carefully to Elon interviews, he said he even wants to smaller the government more rapidly, more sort of the model of Argentina. He's been very close with Maye, following that process very closely as well. And that's more aligned in the way that Elon sees how a government should be run. So a couple of you have Treasury, you have the Department of Defense, or Department of War, as Elon call it, because he tends not to give fancy names to things. And then your homeland, your security of your country, so law enforcement. And he said the rest should be organized by the people itself, and the role of government should be very limited. That's Elon's views that he's of course recommending then to the Trump administration. But Trump cares more about the popularity, because he
approval ratings.
Yeah, for example, if he eventually have to do all the cuts, because right now everybody thinks Doge has done a lot of cuts.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the big bill. I mean, that's the whole reason they got into this fight.
Yeah. So,
I mean, AJ has been posting some beautiful graphs about the big bill. And if you look at those slides, you completely understand where Elon is coming from,
Yep.
And I'm still a little bit in the dark what Orange Man is actually wanting with this big beautiful bill, and why it has been said that this is actually a good bill already. Yep. But I think it has to do with some old legislation which is ending by the end of the year. I don't know if you heard about that, but that the taxes are going up for a lot of people, and if they don't do anything about it, that will go into works within a few months. So that's why they are into a hurry as well.
The basis of this bill actually would mean that the budget deficit will grow to like $7.2 trillion, right? Instead of the 4 point something it is right now, or maybe even in the threes.
And that's the total budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the deficit is less than that, but it's again a deficit, and
it's
something
growing
that
bigger.
wants to be turnaround. And
I always get confused by your numbers.
Why?
I don't know. I don't think the numbers are right, but
the last article that I saw was that the actual spending of this bill over time in the coming 4 years would increase the deficit.
Yeah, that's
by 2.4 trillion, I believe.
But the late figure that I saw, like the end figure was 7.2 trillion, 7.3 trillion.
Yeah, so I think it feels a little bit to make it very black and white. It feels like very business as usual compared to like a whole different approach that basically Trump and Elon campaigned on, and that's definitely the vision that Elon has. So, but I had a very interesting insight, and I'm curious what you guys think of it. Like Elon is the owner of X, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the X platform. If you think about what X actually is, that's Elon called it in interviews a sort of global stream of consciousness that we all have, right? So, and of course we can tap into data of X to see what kind of topics are trending. But internally, they have, of course, way more data on people in certain geographies. So the US alone, or certain states or certain streets, the amount of data that X has, which is also why it's so interesting that XAI and X are now one company, because XAI wants to use all the data to train their models and to have real-time access to what people are thinking about any given subject on Earth, right? So that base is growing and growing. So can you remember that moment where Elon had already the predictions of that presidency at his fingertips, and everybody was very surprised, and he basically said halfway like, okay, done, we got it in the pocket, and he moved to his next task at hand. So my intuition says like Elon has tremendous amounts of information about the pulse of the people in the United States. X is right now the largest platform at hand. So, for example, he can see that people are still frustrated about the Epstein files, for example, not being fully released.
Or the
He
FBI
can see that people are upset about certain topics in certain fields. So I always see like this whole thing with Donald Trump was very let's say out of control reaction, and that's why it's also deleted. So I think that's an observation that is clear. But Elon also stated like, wouldn't it be a good time to announce a third party where we have actually the moderate views? And I think that Elon
the rational party.
So Elon then is very good in sort of aiming at that bullseye. So he asked that question, and he immediately got 80% of the votes being in favor of that. And I think that can be done because Elon has tremendous amount of information on what's happening on the X platform at hand. So he can actually have a very detailed sort of pulse on to know what's going on and what the demands of the peoples are. And Elon's goal is to make like for the first time sort of in humanity like a real democracy. And you need technology to become a real democracy nowadays. You cannot do it in a different ways, and therefore you need all the information available to the people, so people can make their own informed decisions. That's sort of the ideal.
Yeah, this is how it is being described in the Ian Banks culture series as well.
Yes.
The AIs are actually making decisions based on all the data that they get.
Public available data.
Yes, that is going to help. But right now, it still feels like a whole bunch of Republicans coming together, and they do this old game of like, I give you this card, you give me that card, and we shuffle it together in one bill, we pass that one, and now everybody's happy again. That's not a real democracy, right? So that's still that is still like business as usual, as it has always been done. And we got the voice of the people, and the voice of the people were very clear. We want no external wars. We want to end external wars. We want the borders to be closed, and we don't want a deficit in our budget.
Sensible spending.
And right now it's like 2 trillion already in debt that needs to be paid. And that's, of course, very difficult for future generations that want to grow their future in the company. So right now, we see more or less the same here in the Netherlands. For young people, it's difficult to, for example, do the things that 3-4 generations
they
ago.
can even go on like rent a small, small room.
Isn't this exactly what we're trying to say, that this is why we think it's not a real fight? Because I think Trump is also all in on all these points that you're saying, especially the spending part.
But it comes across as if he isn't.
Well, I think he's not. He doesn't have the cards to actually be in a position to say that he is not in favor of the bill. So he needs to say that it's a big, beautiful bill. But
so he's using Elon.
It felt very forced.
Yeah, because he. Well, I don't know what happened with the Jarek Isaacman thing. There's something happened there as well. I think Trump said because he's a Democrat.
Yeah, and he doesn't want any Democrats in there.
So there's obviously something going on still. What you're saying between the Reds and the Blues, and this whole big beautiful bill is also something between the Reds and the Blues, and it's still the old game that everybody wants to get rid of. Yeah. Trump is in the middle of that game, and he's the president, so he still needs to play that game.
Yeah.
But
so you think he's kind of using like Elon as a decoy, as a diversion tactic, diversion maneuver, or
to help convince other Republicans
that this bill is a dumb idea. Yeah.
To stop the bill.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, because the bill is not good enough.
No, it isn't a big, beautiful bill.
No,
it's not as big, and it's not. It is big, but it's not as beautiful as they make it out.
No, and that's why I'm so happy with what AJ has made. He made like a clear graph of the big, beautiful bill, and it immediately shows that it's awful. There's a big deficit, and you also know why.
I checked those numbers, and the current deficit is at $2 trillion. And
what are you saying by the current deficit?
Well, that's what
the total deficit.
The current total debt is like 36 trillion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and the budget will lead to an increase of an additional. Right now,
an additional 2 trillion, 2.4 actually.
Crazy.
Yeah, and then Musk a couple days later said it will increase the debt ceiling by an additional $5 trillion. So then you will go from 2
even more
to 7. Yeah.
Yeah, because they also need to pay their existing debt.
This is a cool image, by the way.
Yeah.
I really like this Mr. Fundman. So big shout out to you. He's making the best memes on X.
Yeah, but
don't know him yet.
Anyway, I was just at that moment a little bit concerned that sort of that roadmap that we're all excited about with the robo taxis, CyberCabs being announced 12 June, almost 12 June.
Yeah, it's not official yet. It's it was a report.
It's a Bloomberg date.
It's a Bloomberg
it's
report.
It's not a Tesla date.
And nothing got published by official channels. So fingers crossed. And the weather is terrible in Austin. So
what do you mean?
I checked the weather report today, and it's kind of hurricane season.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 33 degrees and heavy rain and thunder.
Yeah. No, but my feeling was
it's your flight cancelled.
Oh well, waiting for that text any day now. No.
Yeah. No. So I was just I was just a little bit worried at the moment that the whole thing was escalating. Like I just don't hope that these great ambitions and great plans that we're now on the verge of getting to. Yeah. Right. All the SpaceX prestations that we have seen, the exciting things that are coming up with Neuralink, with Boring, with
and
Tesla.
2 days later, this.
We're very close on the verge of all these breakthrough technologies breaking through. We're literally on the verge of getting to sustainable abundance as humanity, something that Elon has been fighting for the last 20 years. All the technologies are now sort of in that phase 2, phase 3, where we talked about in previous episodes. So I don't know what's going on between all the people, and I actually don't care about all this red and blue stuff. But I just don't hope those plans will be derailed anyhow by Elon getting distracted or sort of becoming hostile to each other, or this current administration becoming hostile to Elon and his companies.
Let's hope that heart that he gave as a comment is the thing that will put this bitch fight to bed. Sure.
Yeah, it was only for like 12 hours or 24 hours.
Yeah, the first 24 hours were calmed rough. Yeah,
stock price rebounded already.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah. That too shall pass, but
it's more noise and it's less signal.
Yeah, let's focus on the signal.
Hey, thanks, Florian.
I have to go, guys.
Bye.
Very, very welcome. We set this alarm at this volume.
Sorry.
No, just don't worry. But so this week it's looking forward to finally CyberCabs in Austin. Is there anything announced that there will be some sort of presentation, or is there anything known about that? Or?
No, nothing at all. Nothing published on official channels. So you would assume, like they did the same for 1010, the Robotaxi event, that if it will get postponed, they would bring out a message and at least give a date, an exact date. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking this will be more of a soft launch, that they're already deploying it right now. And that if there an event might come, it will get announced via the official channels. But two things that struck out to me. First one is that yesterday the news came out that Tesla was finally published on the list of autonomous vehicle operators on the Texas Gov website. So that's I think a very positive sign that they're listed there. And they also spotted a test vehicle with like this number on the back of the car and the front in LA or San Francisco.
Okay.
So in two cities, they're actively deploying and driving around with these robotaxis. So CyberCabs, I don't think we're going to see them.
Not yet. Yeah.
Not soon. No.
Yeah, it was you right this week that had a discussion on X where where you talked about this like being like very unknown to the European public. Was that you?
Sorry, I have no idea what you're referring to.
One of our podcast guests, they asked you a question on X where he asked like, how is this in Europe? So in Europe, we still don't have full self-driving, right? So we were optimistic about this happening in May. But for me, it's like so strange that on the other side of the planet, we're launching this technology.
Yeah, you mean there's no clue here?
No clue. Nobody knows about this.
Nobody.
Nobody knows about people that are following Tesla. Maybe don't even know.
No.
Do you have a poll under your clients maybe to where if they know if that whole CyberCab is coming, or is that very niche?
We didn't do a poll, but I think we do have a fair share of our customer base who is an early adopter and is very much tuned into this news. But to my knowledge, that's not a majority. Not at all. I think...
wow. No. So even from the Tesla users, people that own Tesla cars, they're totally not aware of this whole CyberCabs.
And the buzz isn't that real anymore.
I also think it's because we don't have FSD here in Europe.
No.
I mean, we've been kept by the regulators.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think we've been kept by the regulators because there is a huge lobby behind that from the German manufacturers. Yep. They also know, at least I think the top knows, if FSD is allowed in Europe, we have a massive problem. Mm-hmm. So people are not aware at all what FSD is capable of. No. I mean, we are looking into these vids online, and there are definitely a lot of people who follow us where we're interacting with in the test community who know it. But I think
the general
public, and looking at our clients they drive a Tesla, but they're not. I mean, I think 30% of that is like us, and
I think that's
following the news, and that's maybe even
less.
Less,
on
maybe
the high
20.
Side, this figure.
So, and I think, I mean, we are a leasing company who is specialized in Tesla, and we're building this lease company because we want to build a robotaxi fleet. I mean, all the other Tesla owners, they don't even get the news or so. Even within the Tesla community, owners are not really aware of what's happening.
And it's, for me, it's crazy that like
But also Waymo is still, I mean,
not known. A lot of people don't know that.
But it's been working already for almost a decade,
multiple years. Yeah.
Can you imagine? So I took my dad to Austin last time, and in my trip I visited SpaceX, and we did all sorts of cool things. We rented the Cybertruck. So I told him, I was sitting behind that wheel, and I said to my dad, like, listen, Dad, this car's actually driving itself. And he in the beginning he thought I was sort of making jokes. Like
Demian style.
Yeah, right. You know,
where's this weave going?
Yeah, where is he talking about? But it's actually the car driving itself. But this idea was like so new for him.
Yeah,
like that a car can drive himself that he although he was sitting next to it, could still not believe that this was going on.
I'm taking my dad to the US as well. He's flying in at the end of my trip, so I'm dying to see
his reaction,
reaction and his response, because like he sits beside me sometimes in my Tesla, and then it's like that's basic autopilot. Yeah, we'll see it when it happens, but I want to see his reaction when I just boom put it on and it just does it by itself.
I'm the most curious of what they can launch on or what they can tell about the ride-hailing app.
Yeah.
So that for me, I believe that sort of that roadmap will roll out with the CyberCabs eventually. But I'm just so curious about what we can do with existing owners and how they can become part of this whole thing, right?
And it's still,
I mean,
because we have millions of cars on the road already.
Exactly that last part. What are the current owners of Model Ys gonna do and being capable of, etc.
Yeah.
And just seeing the rollout of the plan and the business plan and learning about all the nitty details. I mean, you've been talking on the podcast with Herbert about this, and about what we are going to do with Mr. Green, etc.
Definitely, yeah.
So shout out to Kees for being there and explaining.
Yeah, I'll link the video in the cards in this video.
Thank you for going there and explaining our story, and you did
Always.
very well. But it's also interesting to learn from Herbert, who was interviewing you, that he is also very interested in actually getting into the fleet management part.
Yeah.
So, and how that will work. And you actually also brought up some things that I haven't thought about as well.
Like what? Like what?
Like our
pharmacies and the doctors,
for example,
and general practitioners.
Yeah. So maybe you can explain a little bit about that, but and how your interview went with Herbert, or
So I had a busy week last week, so a lot of online meets. But Herbert invited me initially to do something about regulations. But like that topic, I discussed it a lot on my X channel already, and people think I like reading those documents, but no, I don't. But I do want to know where it's heading. But
it's very sexy to be a European regulator.
Maye, if you're watching, I know everything about regulations in Europe. No, but so we talked for an hour just about Mr. Green. Where's Mr. Green heading? What is the autonomous robotaxi space? And what's going to happen? So I made some predictions, and I told them like how we are preparing and envisioning the future. I got a lot of nice feedback, by the way, and people wanting to meet in Austin. So it was definitely worth it. Thanks, Herbert. But this idea, it popped in my mind because I was discussing this with 2 doctors, actually. I have a lot of friends who become doctors and lawyers. I did something wrong, but
you're talking about doctors and then make a nose gesture. So not sure what kind of doctors.
My nose was itching and nothing behind it. But and then all of a sudden ideas started coming up. Like I know that a lot of pharmacies, they have their they bring around with cars. Just like it's a stupid job. It's like driving around giving people their medication and supplying the shops. You could also price that in and have a robotaxi doing that for you. So you don't have to have anyone on the payroll or flex contracts or anything. You can use a robotaxi, or even if you are the general practitioner who bought a Tesla Model Y, you drive to work, autonomous or yourself, park it, and then the car does your work for you the rest of the day. But also general practitioners and hospitals. He told me like this. These 2 doctors told me like, the threshold to go to the doctor is sometimes too high, and then people don't go, and then you don't know like how ill you are. And if you can just send a robotaxi, like you lower the threshold to go to the doctor, so you can also, it will make people more healthy as well, because they don't have that threshold. And just by having these discussions with a lot of people who don't know the future yet, creativity will flow, and that's the exciting part of it.
Yeah, but there will be millions of solutions. So what we see is that the amount of car usage will increase also like a 2 or 3-fold.
Yep.
So simply because everything that is now being done by people picking up things will be done by those cabs. But coming back to Europe, for me, it's so wild that we have 8 million Teslas right now on the road. So they announced the 8 million car being built in Berlin, right? So the total fleet is now 8 million of, let's say, half of those cars being capable to become part of this ride-hailing.
Yeah. Aside from the hardware 3, hardware 4 discussion.
But let's do a very, very conservative estimate of 2 million cars.
Yeah.
That's like the most conservative that you can be, because last year alone was like 1.7 million cars. So conservative will be like 3 million. That's still very.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I still have this 2016 presentation in mind, where Elon presented like, at some point we just need to flip on the switch and all those cars will be involved. And quite recently he talked about that switch again as sort of the biggest asset appreciation in human history. But for me, it's so wild that nobody in Europe is aware of that. And then suddenly there will be like 500,000 to 1 million cars here on the road that nobody knows what they can do. And suddenly they're
reality.
You know how disruptive that is. It's better to work gradually towards that. So because Europe is not following along with this whole FSD thing.
10 years ago they were. So like the hype was real, and then because nothing got on the roads, that sentiment started going down, and then it disappeared to the background.
Yeah. So I think
but it's interesting what you tweeted out about this FSD regulation and how it's involved in the tariff discussion. And I love that picture that with the chessboard and you understand which picture I'm talking about? It was from our favorite blogger.
But I think in the meanwhile, what Kees looks that up.
I put it in the app as well. But
I'll look it up. Okay.
It's like, I think the pushback or regulation will be heavier and heavier, because simply the disruptive effect on FSD being so far down the road already is so big, because you have so many cars being enabled at once, or it need to be a controlled rollout. But if you roll it out immediately, the disruptive effect will be huge.
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah. We see Elon and some legacy OEM, BMW on the left and Mercedes on the right. 25% import taxes, import tariffs, and FSD is on the chessboard here. But that's because my latest tweet about the article that got published on Politico. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get some.
So maybe you can explain that tweet a little bit.
Yeah.
In order to get this picture, because I think this is the bigger play that's still.
It might
playing,
be,
and where Elon and Trump are also still working together on. So that's why I'm also convinced that it's been a void, because they're still on a lot of other points. They need each other.
Yeah,
and they're working together.
Yeah. So it was this tweet. It's go time. EU versus UNECE. The EU proposes to get rid of strict self-driving regulations in a bid to end Trump trade tariffs. Might it then finally be happening? Is the EU bypassing UNECE to stay relevant in the global political economic arena? Well, according to this article in Politico, it might be. This was leaked by industry insiders, so I'm hoping to see a follow-up. But regulations are being made on the UNECE level, and now the EU is also a contracting party to the UNECE. So if they get first, the UNECE will need to look to their regulations as well. So it's a chess play on this continent.
Yeah.
And then in the trade tariffs, all of a sudden say, hey, Trump, if you lower those tariffs, we can give... So it doesn't have anything to do with safety. It's just bargaining and it's leverage.
Having the cards.
Yeah,
it's all about the cards.
No, but my point would be, if that is suddenly, is presented that suddenly 1 million cars are being accessible to the ride-hailing app. In Europe, that's far more disruptive than it is in the US because we have not been growing into this self-driving thing. And the awareness in the US on self-driving is already very low because last year when I visited Austin, I had a couple of friends that owned Teslas and they were not aware of this whole FSD update. So it's something that Tesla is also still keeping a little bit under the rug. Yeah, so it's not like you open up your screen and you get this FSD offer all the time. So that is something that is going to happen. But the disruptive effect here, I think it's going to be a lot.
About this,
and therefore more pushback.
The BBC, I think, published...
Where does BBC stand for, Kees?
You know that I know this, but I cannot say this on television. No, on the media now.
Do you like BBC?
No. Do you know what this means?
No, please explain.
Okay, I will. And I'll get
explain
canceled.
to Granddad.
I won't say the third word, but it's something has to do with big black, and then the male version of a chicken. Yeah, and it's not a rooster, but a yeah.
So
okay.
one interview with Elon with the BBC. He was live streaming this whole thing on his X account. And the BBC reporter was asking him all sorts of stupid questions. And Elon could not hold himself back, asking, we can pull up that movie, right? It's one of the all-time...
but we don't have the audio, so that's...
okay, sorry. But that's one of the all-time Elon classics. Then he asked the guy working for BBC, the broadcasting company, the British broadcasting company, if he likes BBC. and the reporter was obviously aware of what Elon was suggesting to him, but he could not answer seriously.
No,
and Elon was constantly sort of repeating that question to him.
Do you like BBC in and around the mouth? Okay.
Really?
Yeah, we will pull it up for you after the episode.
I completely missed that, but that's that famous BBC interview, isn't
it? He's
poking the guy.
But here, a couple hours ago, Uber is going to trial Robotaxis with no human safety driver at the wheel in London next spring. And it will work with Wave, together with Wave.
Okay.
So we're getting somewhere slowly, like in terms of like getting the general public aware of this. This is good news, but
very little. I also listened to the interview of...
This is another example of Uber is just making all these deals with all these different...
Trying to stay relevant.
The only deal they really want is not happening.
Yeah. It will never be on the table.
No.
Yeah, but I also listened to that interview of Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google.
That was a good one. Yeah,
that was a good one, and they talked about Waymo, and we can make fun of them, but they're also serious in their endeavor. Many smart people working there.
For sure.
And what you also saw was that their production facilities getting up to speed.
So how many more cars are they able to produce in 1 year?
Yeah, so they're not fully producing those cars, but they have those devices that they can enable.
I know the number. They have 1,500 cars in their fleet right now, and they're going to ramp up their factory to 2,000.
Yeah. So the numbers, the numbers are not crazy.
That's my biggest question with Waymo. It's like, okay, I understand they have a very interesting business model. The revenue per car is actually pretty good. Mm-hmm. They actually already make $15,000 revenue per month per car. But why aren't they scaling? Mm-hmm. Why do you have such difficulty in scaling? What's the issue? And are there some things that we are overlooking if we're looking to the Tesla model? But as I've learned from Elon up till now, the scaling for Tesla will not be difficult at all. So what's going to be the relevance of Waymo if they're not going to be able to scale?
Yeah. Yeah, well, obviously it needs to scale, but in the interview of that CEO says like this is such a big transition that is going on, and you will also have so many appliances. So, for example, I was at Eleza, one of the wellness centers here in close to Maastricht, and there they have autonomous car testing ground with all sorts of.
Where is that?
Somewhere in Belgium, close to Maastricht.
Yeah.
And they have all sorts of future concepts there that they have.
Yeah.
And there's already a self-driving bus going back and forth to pick up people and bring them to that wellness thing, which is only a ride of, let's say, 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But it works and it's great because I was in there and with 10 other people, you can just get in and the thing just goes back and forth all the time, very low speed. So there will be so many appliances to all that. And that is something that always surprised me about the whole Tesla strategy. Although I like the strategy, they aim for sort of total solution that's sort of game over for everything. That's at least it feels like that. But there's already so many things you can do on airports. In airports, you already see now self-driving cars being rolled out.
And so self-driving sucking robots.
Yeah, so sometimes I...
No, but they're like cleaning bots, like autonomous cleaning bots on the airport. Sorry, I need to... It's so funny. I'm looking your wellness center up. And, well, okay, it's close to an airport. But there's this place called...
What? I cannot see.
It says grote homo, so that means big gay.
Big gay in Belgium.
What the fuck? The Belgians are
Where are you
like...
from?
Yeah, I'm from Big Gay. What the fuck? Belgium is insane, man.
Maybe it means big human.
Oh, this is so funny.
Yeah, well,
okay.
Yeah. But anyway, but I thought, well, there are already so many solutions that you can offer. So, for example, short rides on airports where you can already have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of buses being deployed.
Instead of those buses bring you from the gate to the airport, like that can be autonomous.
It must be very profitable to just offer those, right? So...
yeah, but I always get a lot of itches when I hear these kind of stories because it's so small and...
I understand, but if you think
and
about...
it has nothing to do with autonomy. It's like automated on...
but that's why we are all in the Tesla game because it's all about the scale. It doesn't really matter if you're gonna have this self-driving bus at the big gay community, and there's this one airport doing one bus which drives itself. Yeah.
Would you also say that in hindsight, when you sort of work on a rollout in 2016 till now, almost 10 years later, that it's on the road, that this sort of all-in approach is the right one?
What do you mean? I don't understand your question.
No, well, the FSD was already announced in 2016, right? That was the first autonomy day, and the whole goal was to make this whole fleet and all the cars fully autonomous, which is now coming into fruition 10 years later. So I make that argument that strategically, sometimes those milestones in between could be useful because you could, let's say, if you could produce something that has a solution for airports, right? So something that is not taking the full market at that moment. That's more profitable than just selling one car, if you ask me.
In the short term, but it distracts you from the bigger goal, I think. Like if the goal is to...
No, but what's the point that Demian wants to make?
No, if you look in hindsight, one of the strong things about Tesla is that they always aim for the total solution. We also see that in the Optimus bot, for example. Right? It needs to be a humanoid that is all capable of all sorts of things. But what my not per se concern, because I see where it's heading towards, but in hindsight, I would say like having milestones with certain deliverables, let's say 50,000 buses that we can already operate in restricted areas, would have been a huge profit center for Tesla to accelerate certain things. But the counter argument of that is that it will be a distraction to the end goal of that whole solution.
Yeah, I just think Tesla doesn't work that way.
Sorry?
Tesla doesn't work that way.
They don't work that way. That's obvious.
They do work with milestones and having small wins and iterating on that and actually getting up to scale.
Yeah.
But it needs to scale to big time. And just focusing on airports is not how they think. I mean, I don't know, but so of course they always have these small steps that they need to accomplish in order to get to the next step. They're moving fast, but they're also having all these little steps to be
coming to progress, of course.
To progress.
Yep.
But no, but I'm the thing I was referring to you, or where I get itches from, is this. There are already self-driving vehicles in the Netherlands already for more than a decade, for example. Mm-hmm. It's a very specialized route, very specific route. It's just one vehicle. It's very expensive, and almost nobody uses it.
Yeah.
It's trivial.
It's like, okay, yeah, well
there are
done,
many such
and it was already 10 years ago. So what does it matter? I mean, there's no point to it almost.
I do get it.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah. I get this approach. So and
that's also what I got with why I'm asking this, and I'm serious about it. What's the plan with Waymo? I still don't get it. I don't get, because Waymo is thinking big. They are ahead of the game.
They have a lot of capital behind.
There are a lot of capital behind. Yep. Smart minds, smart people, etc. They can win big time, but they're not scaling. I mean, it's still only 1,500 cars, and they have plans to build this bigger factory with 2,000 cars, but then they're still
nothing. Yeah.
Still 4,000 cars.
I'm looking this up here. Like they want to double the production to 3,500, 4,000 vehicles by the end of 2026, but then still
it's like
it's nothing. And the plan for 2027 to 2030, sorry, that Mesa facility is expected to approach its full capacity of potentially between 20 to 50,000 vehicles a year, whilst one gigafactory is pushing out almost 2 million a year.
Yeah, so exactly. So if Tesla is gonna,
it's gonna be a tsunami.
They're gonna start in 2 days.
That's what we're hoping.
I will be completely disappointed if in 2 years Tesla will only have 2,000, 3,000 self-driving cars in, 5 cities.
Yep.
500 in 5 cities.
Yeah.
I would be completely disappointed.
Yeah.
But on the scale of how Waymo is actually
it's going to be a big success.
And the way you are approaching it, then you would say, well, it's from 0 to 2,000 in 2 years in 5 cities is like pretty amazing milestones to actually achieve. But we've been looking at this for 6, maybe 8 years already, and we've been seeing how big they're already thinking and how generalized they're thinking, and
how that is progressing. So I'm absolutely convinced.
And also, I mean, I don't know if you watched the big Robotaxi debate between Larry Goldberg and Gary Black on the Farsad show.
No, I missed that one. It's a good one?
No.
Oh.
It was terrible. It's like in Dutch we say tenenkrommend.
Yeah.
Like toe
curling. That's the name of a new game.
But
European toe curling.
I mean, it was Gary Black and then some other guy against Larry, and Larry was explaining the scale in which Tesla is actually going to this market.
Yeah.
And Gary Black was continuously repeating his his hypothesis, but there will be other players who will be able to do exactly the same as Tesla within 1 year or 2 years, just like what happened in the EV market. Like we were supposed to get from 0 to 20 million cars within 10 years. And look at where we are right now. And there are multiple competitors. Tesla has actually only got to 2 million cars. So they applied that reasoning to the autonomy market, or Gary Black did. And I was like, no. And Larry was completely pissed. I've never seen him like that.
Yeah? Oh,
he normally is very composed and very articulate, but he was really getting.
Yeah, but like
so that's also I think the whole feeling that we got right now is that if Tesla is only going to do these small kind of things within airports or whatever, or small.
No, I'm not saying that this is the roadmap for now.
And I'm not referring to what you just said, but I will be completely disappointed.
For sure.
I'm really expecting scale and big time. And that's why I'm asking these big questions on Waymo and on Uber. How the hell are they thinking right now in the boardrooms? What are they trying to do? They're setting up a partnership with Wave. I mean, I think Wave is pretty good, huh? I don't know if you followed them, but they are actually getting into certain milestones which are pretty big as well. But how are they going to scale, and with which manufacturer? And I don't see the plan yet. I don't see the. So that's I think very interesting discussion for the coming months.
Of
quarters,
years probably. So no, I completely agree. I see that the strategy that Tesla is working towards will be the winning strategy, because it will be on scale. And what you say is fully right. That if we just talk about 2000 in 2 years from now, that will be very disappointing. I would say at least 25,000 would be sort of a reasonable milestone to expect based on the current communications that we have seen.
By the end of this year, you mean?
Sorry?
25,000 by the end of this year?
No, by the end of 2026. So
25,000?
Yeah, at least.
Much more, I hope.
No, much more, but let's be super conservative. That will be my most conservative number that you then.
Yeah, so 25,000. That's already 10 times Waymo.
Yeah.
10 times the number of Waymos deployed, which is the number one at this moment.
And it's Waymo.
We also have the Chinese market, of course, where Baidu is working. But Baidu already also has a few thousand.
I don't know Waymo as a company too well, so it's worthy to look into. But from my point of view, it's worthy to look into it because there are cars on the road already that are doing their work. And with technology, we're always extrapolating that the cost will go down at a certain point. And that also must be the case for these types of technologies that they're leveraging, right? So it's something that also at scale will be different. But I think one thing people very underestimate, and which is one of the Tesla core qualities, is manufacturing. Because it's not only if you have new technology like Tesla's presenting many times, it's not only the product that you need to develop, but also all the machinery around it to make it happen. And there's a whole new supply chain that needs to open up. And Tesla already are the masters in that in that area. And in this world, I talked about it together where we talked about the hyperbaric chambers and infrared therapy, is that the curve from innovator to early adapter to early majority to late majority is nowadays happening so much faster because information is freely available and we have AI at our fingertips to share ideas and concepts. But that means that also the faster you can come to manufacturing will be a huge competitive advantage in the coming years. So yeah, that is why I think Tesla will be for sure being the leader in this industry. But I feel like in hindsight, working towards certain certain milestones in between, and they have that for the product, but then it's still not being rolled out. So same counts, for example, the semi-truck, which is now ramping up towards volume production because they want to be absolutely sure that it's going to be the winner of that category. While in the past, I think the rollout was more faster. So the rollout was putting out Roadsters on the road or Model 3s with a lot of things that still could be improved. Right now, they're working so far to that point of having it absolutely perfect and be absolutely confident being the sort of the game changer in that industry before they roll it out at scale. That's a whole different approach that the company is now very disciplined in, if you ask me.
Definitely.
There are so many things coming together in that product.
Crazy.
And it's like
it's crazy
in that service that they're going to offer. And there's still a lot of unknowns. And hopefully in 2 days we get a little bit more information.
Yeah. But I do get your question though, like in hindsight, would it be like a smart move? I think like for public awareness and getting like the momentum and people behind you, yes.
But probably also profitable business, right?
Perhaps on a small scale, but then you would also need to increase your capacity internally to be working on those irrelevant topics just to get those milestones achieved. And with the end goal being complete autonomy, picking up that vehicle, dropping it everywhere in the world, and it just drives, then you should be full focus on the end game.
Yeah, for me, it's still one of the biggest and boldest business moves ever presented by a business leader to put in the hardware already 9 years ago. That is collecting data for full self-driving technology already.
And also
especially
making the decision, we're not going to go for former goals of getting to 20 million cars. We're just going full force autonomy. With all the problems still in place, only the first one is the regulation thing, which is still. Kees, please explain how are we going to solve this problem?
UNECE.
but that's a wild thing.
You're getting turned on again.
No, but it's crazy, right? If you we're just having this podcast talking about Tesla, everything going on there, but can you imagine how hard those strategic decisions are that were on Tesla's plate over the last 10
imagine
years?
all the Ross Gerber Kawasaki's and the Gary Blacks being in your face all the time, and Gordon Johnson, like the amount of FUD and annoying also board members of the board that are going against this, like it's gotta be so frustrating. Like, no, I've explained this to you 10 times already. This is what we're doing, and this is where we're heading.
Do you know that famous meeting that Mark Zuckerberg had one day with his investors of Facebook? It's like Yahoo did a bid of like $1.5 billion at the time to buy Facebook, and so these investors, that invested money in the company at let's say a 20 million valuation. We're thinking about, wow, this is like a 50x on my money. So let's be serious about this offer. So they had a whole room together with everything being prepared. So everybody was waiting for their moment. Like, okay, this is the moment we all have been waiting for. And Mark Zuckerberg wasn't fully aware of that meeting going to happen. So he got pulled in to this meeting. And he brushed it off the table like within 2 or 3 minutes.
Delete.
And they said, wow, the crazy thing is, like, normally you will say this is like irresponsible business behavior. But Mark Zuckerberg had like 5 minutes of his time totally convincing that we should not accept this offer and that the future for Facebook is so much brighter than that $1.5 billion that is currently on the table. But I think that kind of leadership is sort of very rare. And now you see where Meta is a company. I'm personally not a fan of that company, But if you hear those kind of stories, it makes you respect those kind of business leaders a lot. Because
big balls move.
Yeah, because if you're there at that moment, everybody says, well, yeah, of course, my company is more successful. But if it's actually on the table and you can have actually that thing, and you have so much pressure from your board and all the people around you.
Yeah.
Same counts from Elon's move with, for example, the Cybertruck. No company in the world can bring out that kind of vehicle because the internal pushback is just so rough. So,
and the amount of development that needed to go in there, like that would have been way too much high of a hurdle for other companies to adapt their existing manufacturing lines for a cool looking truck.
Yeah, nobody would push that through. And that's also a nice thing about the whole Ashok published a blog about FSD development in the last 9 years, being a small team, first on a small computer. And he said the role of Elon was so pivotal in this. But that move of installing that hardware already in the cars is one of the most underestimated but biggest and boldest and business moves in history. It might
turn out that it will be like obsolete and it won't have a place for the Robotaxi future, or will need a retrofit. But that's another discussion. Super big, bold bet. You brought me, you gave me some inspiration because you mentioned Ashok. And we all know Ashok is leading the autopilot team.
Yep.
But he got pushed forward to lead Optimus. What do we think about that, Florian?
Yeah, it's obviously not. It's because the Milankovic left.
Yeah, but then
so there happened something with Milan, I think, and I think the pressure was too high or something, or I don't know, maybe something personal, family side, and they need to find a new leader. And Ashok is doing very well at autopilot, so he's the obvious
choice.
Choice to become the leader of Optimus.
I think two things. One, it says we're very advanced with autopilot, so Ashok is one of the biggest pawns on Elon's chessboard that he can move forward to important projects. And the way that engineers at Tesla work is they're sort of very agnostic in the fields that they can have. They have like the top engineers that can enter very much industry, but it also tells me that Optimus is being viewed as a mostly AI play instead of just robotics. So it will be AI dominant going forward. So yeah, I think all exciting stuff, because you also don't get somebody off autopilot when that is in a critical phase, so they feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah, and he's leading both projects, so he's not leaving the autopilot team.
Yeah.
But I saw this. I'm trying to find it, but I saw this post on X that when Ashok took over from the previous autopilot lead, I think 4 or 5 weeks.
From Andre?
Yeah. I think 4 or 5 weeks down the line, FSD V13 end-to-end was published. So they're making quite some bullish predictions right now. Like, okay, if he is going to lead Optimus, where are we going to be in 4 or 5 weeks down the line from here? So that's why I was also curious for your your thoughts on it. But makes sense. Like Ashok leading this, it's gonna
shock the Optimus.
It's gonna shock the Optimus.
Shock the Optimus alive.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that maybe we shouldn't focus too much on the Robotaxi launch in 2 days, but maybe we should focus on what's going to happen on the Optimus side.
Something big is cooking.
Few months down the road.
I'm going to be very annoying to Florian.
Could be, yeah.
Because Florian is constantly saying, all this news of Tesla, this is not relevant, FSD is coming. Now I'm going to play this card like, this is all not relevant. Optimus is coming.
Yeah.
That will be fun.
Well, after
you talk about FSD all the time.
After last episode, I was like, why are we still talking about Tesla? Let's fill these episodes with talks about SpaceX, Neuralink, those kind of things. I mean, I mean, we've played this game. Also in this episode, I was like, yeah, okay, we talked about this before. Yeah, boring.
Florian also, he doesn't even want to go take a ride in a CyberCab. He just wants to go piggyback ride an Optimus when it gets there. Jump on his back.
So let's envision this future that we discussed.
No, but it's staggering how little we know about SpaceX yet.
Yeah, agree.
And Neuralink. I think this is the sign that we need to stop. This is your...
So my kid is knocking on the door.
We have an Optimus knocking the door.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's wrap up and then till next week.
Next week, as you mentioned, I will be doing my podcast from Austin. So
exciting.
I hope that I can...
Oh, so jealous, Kees.
Yeah, I'm going to be there for quite some time. So if you want to hop on by, you're more than welcome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go all over the country. I want to be in...
So where you're first going to Austin and you're also going to Michigan, I heard. What are you going to do in Michigan?
So we have there is a...
he talks himself in multiple personalities.
I have a split personality disorder. No, but the Rebellionaires are hosting an event in Muskegon, Michigan, so close to Lake Michigan. Funny thing is, like, there's all these places called Zutphen, Doetinchem, super weird if you look on the map. Yeah, so I'm gonna drive around that area.
East Dutchy.
It is like there's also a Dutch windmill, and I passed by on the last time I was there. But okay, drifting off. It's a 2-day event, Tesla Summer Meetup, where a lot of the ex-people are going, and Jan Vogel from Tesla Fix is coming as well.
Cool.
Tesla Welt, I was on his podcast, I think 2 months ago. Larry might be there as well. And then at the end of July, I'm going to go to the X Takeover event. Lars Moravi is going to talk there. Yep. And Steve Jurvetson.
Cool.
Yeah. So those are the two key speakers. Yeah. And then a lot of...
Musk is coming.
In the last, in one of the last or previous Tesla Takeover events, at some point, Ross Gerber was on the stage.
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
At that moment, he was one of the biggest Tesla bulls around. So he was running around on that stage like, this is the best company that ever existed.
Yeah, and now look at the guy.
Over the top.
Now look at the guy. No.
Over the top excited about everything going on at Tesla. And everybody was cheering for him. That sort of financials finally on the side of Tesla.
He's on the bear side right now, a big bear. So Michigan, I want to be in. I want to visit Washington D.C. and New York just to be there. Going to spend most of my days in Austin and on the East Coast. No, sorry, always get those wrong. West Coast, San Francisco and L.A. So yeah, I'm gonna get some Waymos. I'm gonna drive in some cruise vehicles. I want to test the whole lot of it.
Are you going
to bring some cameras?
So the GoPro's packed, and I'm still waiting on a mic to be delivered. But yeah, I need to pack tons of shit to bring along.
Are you going to Boca Chica as well?
Yeah, that's also on the schedule.
Okay, cool.
There's no launches scheduled, but I just want to see it, just like you guys did. I want to be there with those big rockets.
Now it's amazing
and
because
see
the factory is ready. So
yeah, and I also want to pay a visit to Lathrop, to the and Corpus Christi.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I'm gonna see a lot. I'm gonna keep everyone posted, and if you want to join, just fly in.
Yeah, well, one day we will sitting with each other, communicating over Starlink with a Neuralink chip in our head, while our car is ready to drive into the Boring Company tunnel, waiting for our spaceship to launch us to Mars, right? So
definitely
eating a burger at the dinner in LA.
Exactly.
I was wondering, like, should I buy a Starlink Mini and then just
for sure
take it with me?
Of course,
because then I can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sleep in a Tesla everywhere.
Okay.
So I'm bringing the Snoozu mattress, and I'm going to drive everywhere and like just chill out at nice parks, and then wake up with the sunlight, do my morning meetings, and then just the rest of my day.
Of course, yeah, amazing.
Thanks all for tuning in on this bombshell. Let's wrap it up. And I'll see you next week from the States. Bye.
Thank you, Kees.